So today we're going to look at Chapter 8. This is the third day of notes for Chapter 8. If you're following along in your textbook, we are on 8.4. This is all about slope-intercept form. This is one of the most important lessons we will do all year long. So, I know we're coming off a snow day. You might feel a little distracted. You got to focus in. If you are hiding a phone in your lap, put that thing away, okay? This is a very important lesson. I cannot stress it enough, okay? Make sure you're with me. Now, your note starts out with this equation, y equals mx plus b. I want you to label the different parts. We know from our lesson on Wednesday that m is how we can denote slope. So anytime you see m, you should think of your rise over your run, your slope. And then b in the back, that's a new idea. So make sure you write that one down too. We call that our y-intercept. That's where the line crosses the y-axis. And then x and y are always x and y when you see this. M will be a number, b will be a number, and then x and y just stay x and y. And then the x and y stand for any ordered pair that would make the equation true. And that would be any ordered pair that's on the line when we graph this thing. And this form is called slope-intercept form, obviously, because when you look at it, you can see those two features of our graph. You can see the slope, the rise over the run, and you can see the intercept where it touches the y-axis, slope-intercept form. Any questions so far? All right, here's number one. So this says state the slope and the y-intercept of the following equation. There's a note in parentheses. You must put the equation into slope-intercept form first. So in slope-intercept form, it's y equals mx plus b. So you need the y, then the equal sign, then the x, and then the constant on the end. Is this one in slope-intercept form? It is. So we can pick the slope and the y-intercept out right away. What's the slope? 3. What's the y-intercept? 1. Good. And we always write y-intercept as an ordered pair. So if you're on the y-axis, that's the one straight up and down. The x value is 0. You go side to side 0, then you go up 1. So we're going to write those as ordered pairs 0 and then whatever the b value is. Questions? All right, here's part B. Remember, we want y, the equal sign, the x value, and then the constant. Do we have that right now? We do not, okay? So which term do I need to move? What do I need to do? Which one do I want by itself? Y. So which one should I move? The x. You want to move the 2/3 x away from the y. How would you move 2/3 x away from y if it's being added? Subtract. So I need to subtract subtract that 2/3 x from both sides of the equal sign. This is what we were practicing earlier this week where I said just get in the habit of putting it right next to the equal sign. That's why. Because we want it to be in that form, y equals mx plus b. All right, so now we're in the right form. What's the slope? Yes, ma'am. Negative 2/3, good. And what's my y-intercept? Yep. How do I write it? 0,6. Yes, so this just gives you the y value, and then the x value 0 because you're on the y-axis. What are your questions on this one? All right, what shall I do? Yeah, let's move the x term first. So I want to subtract 4x. So I still have negative 7y equals, sneak the x next to the equal sign, so negative 4x plus 18. Then what? Divide everything by negative 7. So we'll end up with just y. What's negative 7, or sorry, negative 4 divided by negative 7? Just 4/7. Yep. Simplify it if you can. Take care of the signs if you can. Leave it as a fraction. We want the fraction. We want the rise and the run on this. And then in the back, that doesn't simplify either. Just make it a negative. If it's plus a negative, we just make it a minus. So that'll be 18 over 7. Questions so far? In my opinion, this is the hardest part. Once it's in this form, these two are pretty easy to pick out. What's the slope? 4 over 7. Good. What's the y-intercept? 0, and then keep that sign. We need negative 18/7. Questions? All right, now we're going to practice graphing these. So again, this one's already in the right form. Y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. So what's in our m spot? Goes under slope. And then what's the y-intercept? 0, 3. Good. Now, I always think of the B part as where we begin and the M part as how we move. So begin here, move this way, okay? So begin at 0, 3. And then move according to your slope. So our slope has a rise of -1 and a run of 2. So down 1, right 2, and then just keep it going. Down 1, right 2. 3 points is enough for me. Arrows on the ends. Raise your hands if you have any questions on this. All right, am I in the right form? I sure am not. So what am I going to do? Yeah, let's just start moving things away from the y. Now, do I need to sneak that up by the equal sign?
No.
Not this time. The x needs to go by the equal sign. This is our constant on the end. Then what? Yeah, I'm going to divide everything by 3. So y equals, that's just going to stay 2/3 x minus 2. What's my slope? What's my y-intercept? 0, -2. Don't forget the negative. All right, so I'm going to start where? Where? Yeah, I'm going to start at -2 on the y-axis. That's the point 0, -2. From there, what am I going to do? I'm going to rise 2, run 3. Then you rise 2, and you run 3. Well, let me try that again. A little better. What are your questions? All right, part C. Yep, let's get rid of that 3x. So 2y equals negative 3x plus 1. Again, you guys sneak it up in there by the equal sign. Then what? Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. All right, what is my slope? Negative 3 over 2. What's my y-intercept? 1/2, right? Everybody agree? Okay, so this one's going to be kind of hard. I go side to side 0, I go up 1/2. You just have to stick with being halfway between the two numbers when you're doing the slope. So you're halfway through, then just go down 3 but stay halfway through. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah, not so much fun, is it? Questions? All right. What do y equals lines look like? Which axis do they go through if it's a y equals? It goes through the y-axis. At what point? 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just go straight through it. If you go the other way, you would just be right on top of the axis. You don't want to do that. You want to cut through the y-axis at 4. Now, if you totally drew a blank, you could write that one in y equals mx plus b form. It would just look like this. So my slope is 0, and my y-intercept is 4. So start at 4. You're not rising at all. You're only running. So you just side to side through the y-axis at 4. How would I graph an x equals line? Yes?
Vertical?
Yeah, now it's through the x-axis at negative 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then you want to slice right across that axis. If you go the wrong way, you'd be on top of the x-axis. That's not what we want. Now this one you can't like morph it to fit into y equals mx plus b. This is y equals mx plus b and it works. This one will never fit into y equals mx plus b form. And that's because our slope is undefined. You can't really manipulate an undefined value. So we're kind of just stuck with memorizing that one. Questions? All right, here is the next one. All right, so if you follow along in your notes, you actually have a little more information than I do. So the steps to write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form, first you want to find the slope. You also want to find the y-intercept, and then you put those in for m and b. So the y-intercept is the easier one to find on this one. So what is the y-intercept? Negative 7. So my b is going to be negative 7. And remember, we write it as a point, so 0, negative 7. Now, we practiced finding the slope a couple days ago. Remember? So we count the rise and the run. So from here to there, we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go right 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is negative 7 over 4. Now, the negative 7 over 4 goes in for which part of this equation? What letter do we use for slope? M. So take the M out and put negative 7/4 in. What goes in for B? This guy. So minus 7. This is our equation. And you can always go back and double check. Count down to 7 and then do rise over run. And if you're not on this line, you've done it wrong. So you can double check these pretty quickly. What are your questions? All right. Ideas? Yes, sir.
Slope equals -1.
The slope, you mean the y-intercept? Yeah, so 0, negative 1 is my y-intercept. And then the slope, when I counted it, I got 2 over 4. Should I leave it 2 over 4, you think? No, what should I write? 1/2. Very good. All right. I am in y equals mx plus b. What goes in where? Y equals 1/2 x minus 1. I agree. Part C. Ideas? The y-intercept is what?
0.
Yeah, 0, 2. So when I write my equation, my b is going to be 2. For slope, oh, I hit the wrong button. Give me a second. Okay, for slope, I go down 2, right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 6, right? So negative 2 over 6, which is negative 1 over 3. Good. So what will my equation look like? Very good. The y-intercept is 0, 3. What's my slope? Slope, anyone? Yes. Negative 5 over 4. Good. Some of these it's kind of hard to count, especially like looking way up at the board. So try to do it on yours. Did everyone get the negative 5 over 4? I was trying to count from here, and I was like, I can't. So yeah, just use the one you have right in front of you. That's why we give you the notes for this chapter. Well, we give you the notes for all the chapters. But all right, now what? Yes, sir.
Y equals negative 5/4 x plus 3.
Questions? All right. What did we learn about today? Good. You can put slope-intercept form, or you can just write it out. Y equals mx plus b. Questions?